There are wounds the world never sees. The kind of wounds stitched not into flesh, but deep into the unseen fabric of the soul. They bleed silently. They ache quietly. And they are endured behind composed smiles and steady hands, so that no one, not even those closest, suspects the war being fought within. You know this battle well. You have walked through days where the pain clawed at your spirit, and the nights when your prayers were soaked in tears, too sacred for any earthly comfort. You were wronged without apology, betrayed without explanation, hurt without witness, and through it all you held your peace, not because it didn't hurt, but because something inside you chose dignity over drama, endurance over exposure. It is no small thing to suffer silently. It demands a strength few admire because they do not see it. It requires a faith so stubborn, so anchored, that it can survive the seasons of isolation, the deserts of misunderstanding, and the cold winds of abandonment. And yet, in a world that rewards noise and spectacle, silence can feel like defeat. You might have wondered, did anyone notice? Did my endurance mean anything at all? Did my silent suffering reach heaven's ears? The answer, my dear friend, is yes, 1,000 times yes. For the God who fashioned the stars, who numbers the hairs on your head, who knows the words you will speak before they leave your tongue, he saw it all. He bore witness when no one else did. He recorded every tear, every sigh, every brave moment when you chose to keep going, when you had every reason to give up. And here is a truth that the hurting heart must hold tightly. God never wastes pain. Not a single sigh, not a single silent scream has been lost in the corridors of heaven. The suffering you endured in silence is being woven into a story far grander than you can yet see. For what was done to you in secret, God intends to redeem in the sight of many. What was broken in the hidden corners of your heart, He will heal so publicly that even your enemies will marvel at the restoration. There will come a day, soon, when those who question your silence will have no choice but to witness your rising. There will come a season when the same mouths that mocked your quiet endurance will proclaim the glory of your comeback. There will come a moment when the private prayers you prayed through trembling lips will burst forth into public testimonies so radiant, so undeniable, that no one will be able to say it was by your strength alone. So do not despair over the seasons when it seemed you were forgotten. You were not buried. You were planted. And when God calls you to rise, the fruit of your suffering will be undeniable. The world that never saw your hidden tears will be the stage for your visible joy. Now, as we move forward, let us explore together the profound ways in which God transforms silent suffering into public restoration. Because make no mistake, your story is not over. It is only just beginning. Silent pain is sacred in God's eyes. Are depths of pain that words were never meant to touch. These are the silent pains, the wounds carried beneath composed faces, hidden from the eyes of the world, and known only to the soul and to God. We often mistake visibility for value, assuming that what is applauded by crowds must surely be the most important work. Yet in the quiet chambers of suffering, a far more sacred work is being done. God's greatest masterpieces are not forged in public applause, but in secret sorrows, in the deep and invisible places where the soul, stripped of every worldly comfort, clings desperately to the unseen hand of its Creator. Silent suffering is not overlooked in heaven, it is honored. It is in these hidden places that faith is purified, stripped of pride, ambition, and the desire for recognition in the silence of your pain when no one else knew the battles you were fighting. God was nearer than your very breath, bending low to catch every whispered prayer, every tear that trembled upon your lashes before it could even fall. What a profound and humbling truth, that the moments you thought were wasted in sorrow were in fact sacred appointments with the Almighty. The world's noise cannot comprehend the weight of silent pain, but God does. His eyes never missed a moment of your struggle. His heart ached with yours. And while it seemed as though heaven was silent in return, every sigh was collected like precious incense, every heartache a stone in the foundation of a glory yet Have you ever considered that perhaps God allowed your hurt to be hidden because it was too precious to be handled by careless hands? Perhaps your pain was not evidence of abandonment, but a sign that you were being entrusted with a divine intimacy that few ever experience. This sacredness transforms the way we understand our silent suffering. We are not forgotten. We are remembered more deeply than we can fathom. We are not invisible. We are seen with a clarity sharper than the keenest human eye. We are not unloved. We are fiercely, jealously, tenderly loved by the one who treasures broken hearts as vessels of his most profound work. The psalmist reminds us, "You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in the economy of heaven? Tears are not wasted, they are recorded. Every private ache is preparing a weight of glory that will one day be revealed." So then, to suffer in silence is not a mark of defeat but a badge of honor. It is an invitation into a sacred fellowship with the heart of God, who himself knows what it is to be misunderstood, rejected, and sorrowful, without vindication in the eyes of man. In your silent seasons, you have not been abandoned to meaningless pain. You have been invited to drink deeply from the cup of divine fellowship, and though the world has not seen the depth of your wounds, heaven has, and heaven is never blind to the sufferings of its beloved. Rest in this truth. Silent pain is not forgotten. It is treasured. It is sacred. It is seen. Your hidden wounds are seeds for a greater harvest. It is a law of the natural world that nothing truly lives unless it first dies and is buried. Seeds full of unseen potential are cast down into the dark earth where no eye watches their slow transformation. There, hidden beneath the surface, they break open, surrendering the form they once knew to become something far greater. So it is with the hidden wounds you have carried in silence. You were not discarded. You were planted. Your pain was not the end of your story, but the beginning of a miraculous unfolding, a harvest ordained long before the suffering ever touched you. There is a temptation in seasons of silent wounding to believe that nothing good could ever come from such agony. We imagine that pain is wasted unless it is immediately vindicated. But how different are heaven's ways? The soil of suffering is rich, with the nutrients necessary for growth that mere comfort could never provide. Your wounds, though invisible to human eyes, were visible to God, and in His hands they have been transformed into seeds of blessing, hidden from view, awaiting their appointed time to spring forth into life. Have you considered that your breaking was the very process by which you were made ready for something you could not have borne before? That in your surrender, something eternal was being planted within you, something too weighty, too glorious for the fragile shell of your old self to contain? The breaking open of the seed is painful, violent even. It feels like destruction, it feels like loss, but it is necessary. Without the shattering of the shell, the life within could never emerge. Without your silent wounds, without your private sorrows, the strength, wisdom, and compassion that now stir within your heart would not have been born. Your hidden suffering was never for naught. It was the sacred preparation for a harvest so abundant, so radiant, that when it burst forth, it will leave no doubt that God was the master gardener all along. And oh, how patient is He with His planting. Unlike the hurried hands of men, God is never rushed by seasons or by the opinions of others. He tends His plantings with infinite care, waiting for the moment when the roots are deep enough, the stem strong enough, and the time ripe enough for the bloom to declare itself before the world. In your hidden pain, He was deepening your roots. In your silent tears, He was strengthening your stalk. In your unseen endurance, He was stretching your reach toward the light. There will come a day, sooner than you know, when the world that knew nothing of your silent battles will see the beauty of your harvest, and they will marvel, not because you made it happen, but because they will recognize that something divine was at work in you. They will see the strength forged in secret and the glory that grew in silence. The very wounds that seemed to bury you will be the proof that you were planted by a divine hand, and the fruit that springs forth will nourish far more than just your own soul. It will feed the hearts of many who, like you, suffered unseen and waited unseen for their own season of rising. Hold fast, beloved soul. Your hidden wounds are not your undoing. They are the seeds of a greater harvest, and the Lord of the harvest has never once lost sight of you. God's timing magnifies His glory. In the economy of heaven, time is never wasted. Every moment of waiting, every season of hiddenness, every hour when you felt overlooked, has been carefully orchestrated by a hand far wiser than your own. When you suffer in silence, it is easy to believe that heaven too has gone silent, that your prayers are mere echoes fading into the vastness of an indifferent sky. But that is not so. The seeming delay is not a denial, nor is it evidence of God's forgetfulness. Rather, it is the careful crafting of a story so intricate, so beautiful, that it could not be hurried without diminishing its splendor. Have you ever watched a sunrise? It does not burst forth all at once, but comes slowly, quietly, painting the sky with colors that deepen and unfold with patient majesty. The darkness does not disappear in an instant, but yields itself gradually, minute by minute, to the coming light. Such is the way of God's restoration. It is not rushed, because it is not cheap. He will not permit your rising to seem like a mere stroke of fortune or the result of your own striving. No, when He moves to restore you, it will be with such unmistakable authority that none will dare to attribute it to luck or chance. His timing ensures that when you are raised, it is clear to all who witness it that it was the hand of the Almighty that lifted you. It is a truth difficult for the impatient heart to accept, that waiting is often the womb of the miraculous. We are creatures of haste, longing for quick resolutions, eager for immediate vindication. But God, in His infinite wisdom, knows that the deepest works of healing, growth, and preparation require time beyond what we would willingly endure. He is not working merely to rescue you from discomfort, but to reveal His glory through your life. And glory, true glory, is never born of shortcuts. It requires the forging fires of patience, the steady shaping of character, the invisible work of roots growing strong in unseen soil. In your silent seasons, while you wondered if your prayers were forgotten, God was aligning circumstances, shifting hearts, moving mountains you could not yet see. Every delay was purposeful, every detour was necessary. Every moment of waiting was preparing a platform not merely for your restoration, but for a revelation of His majesty so profound that even the skeptical will have to pause and wonder. When the fullness of time arrives, your story will not merely be about survival, it will be about resurrection. It will not whisper of human endurance. It will shout of divine intervention. So trust the slow work of God. Trust that His timing is not cruelty but mercy. Trust that His delays are not denials but preparations for a restoration so public, so undeniable that it will leave no doubt about who authored it. When He lifts you, when He restores all that was broken and lost, it will magnify His glory in ways you cannot yet imagine. And you will stand, not merely vindicated, but radiant, a living testament to the God who makes all things beautiful in His time. Public restoration requires private preparation. It is a great paradox of the divine life that before God elevates a soul in public, He first prepares it in private. We often desire the restoration, the vindication, the celebration, but we shy away from the hidden seasons of refinement that must precede them. Yet without the deep and often painful preparation in solitude, any public blessing would become a burden too great to bear. God, in His mercy, withholds the crown until the heart is strong enough to carry its weight without collapsing under it. Private preparation is not glamorous. It is the season of silent battles, of unseen tears, of hidden sacrifices. It is the place where no applause reaches and no human encouragement sustains. It is there, in the obscurity of silent suffering, that the soul is stripped of pride, self-reliance, and all illusions of control. It is there that trust is not merely spoken but lived, often through trembling hands and weary hearts that choose to believe when there is nothing left to cling to but faith itself. You may have wondered why God allowed your suffering to remain hidden, why He did not immediately expose the wrong done against you or vindicate your name when you were falsely accused or misunderstood. But the truth is, vindication without preparation would have been a curse, not a blessing. If you had been restored prematurely, you would have lacked the depth, the humility, the wisdom to steward the blessing that God had in mind. Private preparation ensures that when public restoration comes, you are not merely restored outwardly, but inwardly transformed. The bitterness has been burned away, the ego laid low, the faith forged into something unshakable. Consider the oak tree. Before it reaches toward the heavens, it sends its roots deep into the earth, anchoring itself in unseen strength. A tree with shallow roots may grow quickly, but it is easily toppled by the first storm. So too with the soul. Without the deep roots of private preparation, public restoration would be dangerous. But when the roots are deep, when the heart has been anchored in God's love and not in the fleeting approval of man, then restoration becomes not just a personal triumph, but a beacon for others, a lighthouse of hope for those still wandering through their own seasons of hidden hurt. There is a sacred dignity to this process. You are not being punished in the silence. You are being prepared. You are not being forsaken in the shadows. You are being fortified. And when the day comes, and it will, when God lifts the veil and allows the world to see what He has done in you, the restoration will not be a mere return to what was lost. It will be an unveiling of something far greater than what was taken. Your character will have been deepened. Your soul will have been refined. Your spirit will have been strengthened. You will not merely reclaim what was stolen. You will possess new territories of faith, wisdom, and joy that could only have been gained through the crucible of private preparation. So take heart, dear soul. What feels like delay is divine craftsmanship. What feels like abandonment is, in truth, attentive shaping. The God who sees in secret is fashioning you into a vessel worthy of carrying His glory. And when the time comes, your restoration will be so radiant, so undeniable, that all will know it was God who did it. And you will be ready not merely to receive it, but to steward it well. Your story will heal others who suffer in silence. There is a peculiar mercy in the ways of God, that He does not allow our pain to be meaningless. What you have endured, the silent wounds, the secret sorrows, the lonely prayers, were not permitted merely for your own growth, but for the healing of many others. You see, the world is full of those who are suffering in silence, just as you once did. They smile outwardly, while inside they are breaking. They walk among crowds, feeling invisible, longing for a sign that they are not alone in their anguish. And it is your story, born from the soil of suffering, that will become for them a lifeline, a beacon of hope shining through the fog of their despair. God does not waste a single tear. What you thought would destroy you has instead become the very thing that qualifies you to speak life into others. There is a certain authority that only the wounded possess, the authority to say, "I understand, I have been there. I have felt that ache, that loneliness, that desperate questioning." It is not theory or sympathy that carries the power to heal. It is shared experience, sanctified by grace, transformed into testimony. Your story is not just a tale of survival. It is a weapon in the hand of God, forged in the fire of affliction, honed on the whetstone of patience, and now ready to cut through the lies that tell others they are alone, forgotten, beyond hope. Imagine the moment when someone hears your story, the quiet strength with which you endured, the steadfastness of your faith when no applause echoed in your ears, the beauty of your restoration after seasons of apparent defeat. Imagine the spark of hope that ignites in their eyes when they realize that if God could carry you through such darkness, He can surely carry them too. Your journey becomes a mirror in which they glimpse their own possibilities, a reminder that hidden suffering is not the end of the story, but the beginning of something sacred. It is no small thing to be entrusted with such a gift. Your scars, once sources of shame or sorrow, become sacred vessels of healing. And what is more beautiful than a scar that no longer speaks of pain, but of survival, of redemption, of divine love, that proved itself stronger than death? When you speak, it will not be with the hollow clanging of theory, but with the resonant tones of lived truth. And that truth will find its way into the broken places of others, bringing comfort, courage, and the stirring of new faith. There is a divine strategy at work in your life even now. God, who brought beauty from ashes and life from death, is weaving your suffering into a tapestry whose colors you cannot yet fully see. Each thread of pain, each strand of endurance, each knot tied in tears, is being woven into a masterpiece that will one day hang in the gallery of human hearts, a living testimony to the power of God to redeem even the most hidden hurts. Those who encounter your story will not merely be impressed by your strength, they will be drawn to the source of your strength. Your life will become a living sermon, preached not with grand oratory, but with quiet authenticity, with the gentle authority of one who has walked through the fire and emerged refined, not destroyed. And so, though it has been hard, so much harder than anyone else can see, know this: your suffering has a purpose that stretches far beyond your own healing. Your silent endurance has laid the groundwork for others to find their voice. Your restoration will blaze a trail for others to follow. Your story, once heavy with sorrow, will be lifted up as a banner of hope for those who are still wandering through their own silent storms. You may not yet see the lives you will touch, the chains you will help break, the courage you will awaken, simply by standing in your truth and allowing your scars to speak of a God who restores. The world is desperate for authenticity, for real stories of real redemption. You were chosen to carry such a story, and when the time comes for you to share it, Whether in a grand stage or in a whispered conversation, you will know that none of your pain was wasted. It was all preparation for the sacred calling that lies ahead, to heal, to lift, to inspire, to awaken the weary souls who need to know that silent suffering is not the end, but the soil from which resurrection blooms. Those who hurt you in secret will see your blessing in public. It is a sobering thought that those who waged war against you in secret, those who whispered lies in the shadows and wounded you when no one else was looking, will not be allowed to remain ignorant of your restoration. There is a justice that belongs not to the courts of man, but to the throne of heaven, and that justice moves with a patience and precision beyond human understanding. The ones who thought they triumphed in their secrecy, who believed their cruelty would be buried beneath your silence, will one day stand as witnesses to the mighty work of God in your life, unable to deny the beauty that He brings from your brokenness. There is a temptation to believe that silent suffering goes unnoticed, that injustice thrives because it hides so well in the unseen corners of our lives. But nothing is truly hidden from the eyes of the one who searches hearts and weighs motives. The betrayals you endured in silence were not lost on heaven. The falsehoods spoken behind your back did not escape the ears of the righteous judge, and though He may have allowed you to walk through seasons of silence without immediate vindication, it was not because He was indifferent. It was because He was preparing a restoration so profound, so undeniable, that it would serve not only as your healing, but also as a declaration of His justice. In time, the ones who celebrated your downfall in secret will be confronted by your rising. They will see you walk into blessings they never believed you deserved. They will watch as doors open before you that no man could have forced shut. They will witness favor poured upon your life in ways that defy explanation. And in that moment, it will be clear to all that it was not human effort that restored you, but divine intervention. God, in His infinite wisdom, often allows the enemy to believe he has won, only to later demonstrate His power in a way that silences every tongue raised against His chosen ones. It is not yours to orchestrate this unveiling. You do not need to seek revenge, to clamor for recognition, or to demand justice on your own terms. The restoration that God is planning for you will not require your striving. It will simply unfold at the appointed time, leaving no doubt about who authored it. And when it happens, you will not need to speak a word in your defense. Your life, renewed and overflowing with grace, will speak louder than any accusation ever made against you. And with it also the accusation ever made against you. Your peace, your joy, your unexplainable success will testify on your behalf. There is something deeply humbling about this process. It reminds us that restoration is not about the humiliation of those who hurt us, but about the glorification of the one who heals us. God's purpose is not merely to expose the wrongs done against you, but to exalt the righteousness of His name through your life. He will allow your blessing to be seen not as a weapon of vengeance, but as a witness to His faithfulness. And in seeing your restoration, even the hearts of your enemies may be convicted, may be softened, may be turned toward repentance. For God's justice is never petty. It is always redemptive, always reaching beyond mere punishment toward the possibility of transformation. You may wonder at times why the vindication takes so long. You may feel the sting of injustice lingering far longer than you expected. But know this: every day you walk in integrity despite unseen wounds. Every time you choose to trust God instead of taking matters into your own hands, you are storing up a testimony that will one day overflow. And when the time comes, it will be evident to all, those who believed in you, those who doubted you and those who betrayed you, that you are upheld by a strength far greater than your own. Hold your peace, dear soul. Resist the urge to defend yourself prematurely. Resist the temptation to expose those who wronged you. Their actions, though hidden from the eyes of men, are fully exposed before the throne of God. And the same God who saw your tears in secret will prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Not a table of bitterness or gloating, but a table laden with blessings, with peace, with the sweet satisfaction of knowing that you were never forgotten, never forsaken, never overlooked. Your silent suffering was seen, your patient endurance was recorded, and soon your public blessing will be the undeniable evidence of a faithful God who always keeps his promises. Your vindication will speak louder than your words ever could. There is a vindication that human hands cannot manufacture, a defense that no argument, no justification, no explanation can ever achieve. It is the kind of vindication that rises quietly, powerfully, like the dawn after a long and bitter night, unannounced yet undeniable. When God moves to vindicate you, it will not come through the noisy defenses you might be tempted to build with your own words. It will come through the undeniable transformation of your life, a transformation so radiant that even those who sought to diminish you will be forced to acknowledge the hand of the divine upon you. In the aching moments when you were misunderstood, falsely accused, or quietly dismissed, there was a part of you that longed to cry out, to set the record straight, to make them see what they had done. It is the human impulse, deeply rooted in our nature, to want to be heard, to be believed, to be seen rightly. Yet the Spirit whispered to you, "Be still, trust me, let your silence be the soil where I will plant something far greater than anything your words could achieve." And though it was painful, though it required a dying to self, you obeyed. You chose silence over self-defense, surrender over striving, trust over retaliation. What you did not see, what you could not yet see, was that while you stood silently, God was working. While you said nothing, heaven was writing. While you waited, a story was unfolding, one that would not only clear your name but crown you with honor, one that would not merely silence your accusers but glorify the author of your life. Human vindication is fickle and fleeting. It lasts only until the next accusation or the next scandal, but divine vindication is eternal. It is a work so thorough, so complete, that it leaves no room for doubt. It speaks not just to your innocence, but to the goodness and faithfulness of God himself. Imagine the power of a life so transformed by God's restoration that it leaves even your fiercest critics speechless. Imagine them seeing your joy, your peace, your undeniable fruitfulness, and realizing that nothing they did, nothing they said, nothing they plotted was able to stop the blessing that heaven had decreed over you. Imagine them coming to understand, not through your arguments, but through your living testimony, that they had contended not merely with you, but with the one who fights for those who trust him. Your life, renewed and overflowing, will be the loudest sermon ever preached against injustice, betrayal, and cruelty. There is a wisdom in God's ways that far surpasses human strategy. Had you defended yourself with your own words, you might have won a small battle and lost a greater victory. But by trusting God to defend you, you are allowing him to build a fortress around your life that no accusation can breach, no slander can penetrate. You are allowing your story to become a declaration of his power, his mercy, his faithfulness. And when vindication comes, and it will come with a weight and a permanence that human effort could never have achieved. This is the kind of vindication that transforms not only your circumstances, but also your spirit. It leaves you free from bitterness, free from the need to prove yourself, free from the chains of other people's opinions. It sets you firmly in the love and approval of the one whose judgment alone matters. You no longer need to explain your path to those who misunderstood it, nor justify your scars to those who caused them. Your healed life will be your answer. Your restored joy will be your reply. Your undeniable flourishing will be your testimony. And how sweet will that day be, not because it will be a moment to gloat, but because it will be a moment to glorify. To lift your eyes toward heaven and say, "It was you, Lord. It was always you." Every silent prayer, every hidden tear, every moment of quiet endurance will be answered not with the applause of men, but with the smile of heaven. And that, dear soul, is a vindication worth waiting for. It is the only vindication that truly satisfies, not because it exalts you, but because it magnifies the one who carried you through the fire and brought you out without even the smell of smoke upon you. In the end, your story will not be about the wrongs that were done to you, but about the greatness of the God who redeemed every single one of them. And when you walk in the fullness of His blessing, you will understand why the silence was necessary, why the wait was worth it, and why no word you could have spoken in your defense could ever have spoken as loudly as the life God was preparing for you to live. And so, dear soul, as you stand on the edge of the story God has been writing all along, remember this: the silence you endured was never abandonment, it was preparation. The pain you carried in secret was never wasted. It was being woven into a testimony that will shine brighter than you can now imagine. You were hurt in silence, but you will be restored in public. You will rise, not by your own striving, but by the mighty hand of the one who saw every tear, heard every whispered prayer, and kept count of every unseen battle. Let this truth settle deep within your spirit. You were never forgotten, never forsaken, never invisible to heaven. Every moment you spent trusting when there was no evidence to hope, every step you took in faith while the world overlooked you, was seen, treasured, and will be answered. And when God moves, when He lifts your life before the watching eyes of many, it will be so clear, so undeniable, that even those who once doubted you will be left in awe, not of you alone, but of the God who never fails to honor those who trust in Him. Hold fast to His promises, walk boldly into the restoration He is preparing for you. And when it comes, and it surely will, may your life echo this eternal song: "The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes."